Hey everyone, Mrs. Vance here. We are going to take our sketchbook version of our jar and transfer it over to final paper. So we are just going to redraw it again. So I'm going to go through those steps. Please choose just not your watercolor paper. You can use drawing paper or your tag board, whichever you have more of left would probably be a good idea. But either one will work fine for this project, okay? So I'm going to kind of shift my jar over to the side a little bit. Remember that we started with that top oval first. That was step one. So we're going to go ahead and use our whole arm, drawing really lightly, keeping the oval as skinny as we can, but still being oval. And then we grab that magic rub and get rid of any of our stray lines. We're going to go over the jar lines with colored pencils later on, so don't panic if you've still got a little bit of stray lines. We can clean those up later when we outline. All right. So the top of our jar is complete. The next step we have is those sides. Okay, we're looking at the sides of our jar. So we're going to go straight down. And it's okay if you kind of have a soft curve to it. Think almost like parentheses, but really, really subtle. And I'm kind of going back and forth to make sure they're sort of the same length. And then from there, we're going to connect those 2 points with that smiley face parallel curve. Really subtle. Make sure that's not a huge curve. The curve should be about the same as the top here. So really soft curve. Nothing super dramatic. Coming over to the other side and kind of rounding out our edges. We don't want anything to be super straight and rigid since this is a jar and jars are round. All right, so there is the top. From there, we're going to work on our angles and come down. So we're going to make that subtle diagonal out to the side, not quite 45 degrees. That's what we think of when we think of a standard diagonal. Okay, and I'm double checking, are mine about the same? They are about the same. And then from there, we're gonna kind of go straight down our side. And remember, I'm using the edge of my paper to help me keep my line, my sketchy line straight as I work my way down the paper. Now this paper is a little bit bigger than your sketchbook, so guess what? My jar is getting a little bit bigger. I purposely moved my top, just with a little bit of space at the top. We want as much space as possible to be able to put our bugs in our jar and have enough space to draw our bugs. So it's okay if your jar is gotten a little bit larger this time. So again, same thing on this side, keeping kind of a sketchy line, short strokes, and sliding my arm down parallel with the edge of my paper so that it's nice and straight. Take a look at it, make sure it looks right before you move on. If something looks wrong, that's what you've got your handy dandy eraser for. All right, so now we're going to round out our corners. So before we connect the jar at the bottom, we're going to round out our straight line just at the bottom. Erase any extra line that you might have, and then go ahead and connect with that parallel soft curve. I like to go from the left side and then the right side and kind of connect in the middle so that they stay nice and smooth. All right, and then we want to make sure that we have that oval down here. So very similar to that oval we made up here, we're just putting it down at the bottom and it doesn't touch the edges, it stays inside of the jar. And this can be kind of tricky, getting the placement right, getting the oval right. So take your time with it. I have a little bit more erasing to do this time around. All right, so now that we have our oval and our bottom, we're going to go up and add some details to our lid, and then we are done with our jar for today. We're going to go ahead and go up and I kind of like to follow the curve from the back of the jar. That helps me keep my lines kind of curved and parallel here. So I like to add 2. If you have room, you could add 3 different lines. That's okay. And I try to keep them the same on each side so they would connect if they were all the way across. Okay. And I think that looks pretty good. We've got our jar. We're ready to add in our bugs tomorrow. Good job, guys. Have a good one.